Welcome to Brain Lady Speaks with Julie Anderson on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Julie Brain Lady Anderson is considered to be one of the nation's top experts on the brain-personality connection. She has been inspiring her audiences to fire up their brains and ignite positive changes in their relationships. And now she is here to bring that knowledge to you. The information she shares will help those who hear it to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. When you learn to tap into the potential of your natural gifts and the power of the brain-mind connection, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. Today and every Wednesday on Brain Lady Speaks, you'll explore the latest findings to see how they have practical application in your life. And now, get ready to join Julie Anderson on Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. Take it away, Julie.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning to everyone on this beautiful, beautiful midsummer's day. I can't believe it. Here we are. We are halfway through July already, actually almost 2/3 way through July. Crazy. It is a beautiful, beautiful, balmy day out here in Northern California. Enjoying the sun. We've got a little break from the heat for the last couple of days. It's been down where I live. It's been down into the 80s, the low 80s. So it's been just amazing. Nice little breeze, gives us a break. But next week, it's going to be heating up. We're looking at high 90s next week. So we're going to enjoy the break while we have. And, you know, it doesn't matter what the weather is like. It is always good to start off the day with an amazing, positive mindset and positive, looking at the positive that is in the day. So whether it's perfect weather or it's hot weather or it's rainy weather, there's always positives, always things to look at, hey, you're up and breathing one more day, right? That's a positive. Okay, so you are listening to the Brain Lady Speaks radio show, and we are going to, for the next few weeks, we are going to be taking a turn and really focusing on business as a whole, and how to use your brain in business. So we're going to be doing a lot of topics that are connected to how do you take this this science behind the psychology of what makes people tick, this brain personality connection information, and utilize it to improve your business. And the application is incredibly broad. I mean, as you've seen, if you've listened to the past shows, all of this information makes such a big difference in your personal life, in the way you feel about yourself, and the way you feel about key people in your life. But it also will have a huge impact if you are in business for your job. But if you're in business for yourself, it can have an incredible by understanding your potential clients. If you are an upper level management or a CEO of a company, it's going to have a really big impact on the way you look at the people that you are managing or the people that you work with. And if you are in sales of any type of sales, understanding this type of information on the brain personality connection is going to have a powerful impact on your success in the sales department or in your sales. And if you are a worker and you have coworkers that you interact with or your boss, it's additionally great information because it helps you to understand them so much more. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to focus our time on bringing out some information that I put in a small book that it was an ebook, and it's still an ebook. You can get it on the website, but I am moving it into an actual printed book, just kind of like a handbook, if you will. And it is entitled Increase Your Bottom Line Through Improved Communication. So what I've done in this outline or in this book is help individuals to really understand how to improve their communication by understanding just one facet of the brain personality connection. So when you look at the brain personality connection, I've talked about this before, but just as a refresher, you have 5 main factors in the BPC, as I like to call it. Those are your nurture, the way you were raised, who raised you, the environment you were raised in, the people you were raised around, the culture, that type of thing. And then you have that's very environmental. That's influential by who and how you were raised. The other 4 factors are actually your brain wiring. how is your brain wired to receive information and to process information. And these are your gender, because the male and the female brain, we've talked about this before, the male and the female brain are vastly different. And then you have the introverts, ambiverts, and extroverts and the way that they perceive incoming data. You have the brain quadrant dominance. So you have one of the 4 areas of the brain that you use with the greatest amount of ease. And what we're going to focus on to a large extent today is your communication styles. It is really what, in the scientific terminology, your sensory modality. So out of those main senses, out of the auditory, the visual, or the kinesthetic, which one do you process information most efficiently and effectively? This isn't, we all, unless we're sensory impaired, we all bring in information on all of the senses, all 5 of the senses, and 6 if you want to add in the gut response that is attached to one of the 3 main. But we all use that unless we're sensory impaired. However, some brains are powerfully stronger in one of the 3 main modalities, which means that they process information most efficiently and effectively, and it is more prominent in their brain when information is sent in that particular manner. And we're going to discuss those, and we're going to talk about how does all of this fit with your particular business, your job, your position in a company. How can you utilize this information to make it better? Now, back in the beginning of the year, I talked about how to use this information in your personal life, in your personal relationships, but we're really going to be focusing primarily on the bottom line, on how to improve your job, how to increase your profits by implementing and understanding this information. Now, if you're not sure what your communication style is, so there's 3 main communication styles. There's auditory, they comprise about 20% of the population. There are visuals, they comprise about 50% of the population. And there are kinesthetics, they're the remaining 30% of the population. Now, this is without taking gender into consideration. When you factor gender into it, you have a lower number of auditory males, and they are a little bit higher in the visuals, and you have a lower number of the visuals as females and kinesthetics, I should say, and higher in the auditory, because more women are auditory, and that is because of the way the female brain is broken up. We have more space, we have more real estate in our brains, in a female brain, devoted to language than men do. And so since we have this extra portion of our brain devoted to language, then obviously we just have more, we process it differently, and there are more women that are auditories. If you're not really sure what you are and you're curious, you'd like to find out, go to yourbestmindonline.com. Yourbestmindonline.com. And if you look over in the right-hand column on the home page, you can take, there's a little assessment that you can take. It's just a cute little fun online assessment that you can take to help you to determine which of these you are, if you're primarily auditory, kinesthetic, or visual, which one is your primary. And it's good to know. It actually is very good to know what you're strongest in and what you're not the strongest in, because that's going to help you to work on developing or strengthening your acuity in the areas that you're not strong in, so that you can connect better. So as I said, 20% of the population are auditories, approximately 50% of the population are visuals, and approximately 30% are kinesthetics. So what does this mean, and why do you want it in business? Well, improving your financial outlook on your business is based a lot on improving your communication skills. And it's something that is kind of a new way of looking at building financial strength by building your communication skills, but that's what we're going to work on today. So we're going to start off, there's such a challenge in communication. There's, how many times have you sent your boss a note, or you've said something to someone in your life, and you come back and talk to them about it a day or two later, and it's like they didn't even hear it. It's like the message that they didn't even know they sent it. And you can recall everything about the conversation that you had with them, but for some reason, the individual did not remember it. A lot of times that has to do not necessarily with them not paying attention. Now, granted, some people are just going to not pay attention to you. That's just life, right? But oftentimes, more often than not, it has to do with the fact that you said something when they needed to see it, or you showed them something when they needed to hear it, or you tried to help them feel something when they needed to see or hear it. Does that make sense? So when you talk about these communication styles, when we come back from break, I'm going to dig into some of the personality traits that you see very strong in each of these styles, and then how to utilize that information to improve your communication with them. And in terms of sales, how do you increase your sales? How do you improve your sales, improve that bottom line by utilizing and putting this information into your life? So when we come back from break, we're going to do that. If you want, go online. It wouldn't take you more than just a couple minutes. While we're on break, go on to yourbestmindonline.com and fill out do that survey. Take that. Again, there's a couple of questionnaires that you can do on the website. One is the What's Your Brain Quadrant Dominance. That's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is the communication of the sensory modality. So that is on the right-hand column of the landing page, the home page of Your Best Mind Online. Take it, and it's going to help you to figure out whether or not you're auditory, you're visual, or kinesthetic. And then when we come back, I'm going to explain in more detail what that means. So, hey, you have some homework for this first little break that we have. You got a couple minutes to do it. And then once we come back, we'll discuss this more and talk about how to implement it in your business, in your personal life a little bit, but primarily on the business focus, how to utilize this information. Every single person has a preference, one that's just a little bit stronger than the other. So find out what yours is, and then join me back after break on the Brain Lady Speaks radio show to find out more.
With her thorough understanding of brain chemistry, Julie Anderson provides you with tools and processes that will change your life in a positive way. Julie uniquely blends science and psychology when she shares her knowledge and information with businesses, entrepreneurs, women's groups, and families to improve workplace morale and productivity, parents creating dynamic relationships with their children, and women achieving more in life and business. Julie Anderson will be right back with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Congratulations on being the proud owner of an adorable, soft, cuddly, sweet-smelling, smiling, cooing, hungry, tired, gassy, screaming little bundle of joy. So now what? Where's the owner's manual for this thing? Where are my instructions? Right here. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet.com. Infant care specialist Blythe Lipman has worked with babies for over 20 years and works extensively with new parents, providing workshops, in-home visits, tips, and daily phone calls to ease those frazzled nerves. With Baby and Toddler Instructions, you can get the advice you need on how to survive and enjoy your baby's first year. For more information on Blythe and how she can help you, go to babyinstructions.com. From 32 ways to stop a baby from crying to 14 ways to get a baby to eat and so much more. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet.com.
Welcome back to Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. By including the latest scientific research on the brain-personality connection, Julie Brain Lady Anderson provides her clients with the all-important why behind what people do and how they think. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. Here again is your host, Julie Anderson, with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So hopefully you had time to take that quick quiz. What did it turn out like? What did you find you were? Auditory, visual, or kinesthetic? If you didn't have time to do it, or you're listening to this in the car or as you're moving, then be sure to go there later when you get the chance. It's kind of a fun little thing to do. Okay, so back to business and communication, or business and increasing your sales. Every business person would like to really increase their ability to get the potential clients and then to keep them, as well as to just improve their overall relationship with them. And one of the easiest ways to do that is by understanding the individual's, your communication style, your sensory modality, and that of others. And you can find out fairly quickly what a person's sensory modality is just by asking a few specific questions. So I always tell my clients, when you are planning on meeting with a potential client, you always want to put together some kind of a pre-meeting check or questionnaire, something that's going to help you not just to understand their communication style or their sensory modality, but really to understand what are their goals for the meeting? What is the outcome that they would like to reach? What do they really want to hear from you? Because if you're meeting with them thinking that you're going to provide service A, but their brain is thinking service B, you might lose the client just because you didn't touch on what they wanted to hear or what they wanted to know about. So pre-meeting checklists or pre-meeting questionnaires are always a great thing to do. I love it when I get one from people that I am going to potentially hire to work for me, or I am going to potentially outsource or work to, or use as a resource. I love that because I know that I can put in very concise terms before we meet what it is that I want to hear. And I love doing that with my potential clients, doing that pre-meeting questionnaire to find out what it is that I can do for them. So with that in mind, let's talk about these three modalities: auditories, visuals, and kinesthetics. Auditories, as I said, are approximately 20% of the population if you don't take gender into account. If you do take gender into account, you're going to have a little bit higher amount of women in there. So for the female brain, or for the auditory brain, sorry, we were talking about women, so my brain started going that way. You want to really help them hear the message. Now, because reading is an auditory brain thing, it is auditory. Even though you're using your eyes, a lot of people think because they like to read that means that they're a visual because they're using their eyes, but it's not. When you're actually reading and they're scanning your brain as you're reading words, it's primarily the auditory centers that activate or that have the highest activity in them. When you think about it, think about reading something. Every time you read something on the printed page, even if you're not reading it out loud, if you're reading something on the printed page, you are hearing the words in your head. So therefore, being an auditory or reading a lot or loving to read is oftentimes considered an auditory preference. So that's your first clue. If you're a reader or someone that you know just reads things tremendously all the time, loves to read, loves the written word, has stacks and stacks of books by their bedside or in their office, then they're most likely an auditory sensory modality or an auditory communication style. And so for them, they have to hear the message, and you have to be able to convey that message in concise wording. You have to be able to be articulate about it and make sure that they get the message that you're sending. Auditories are also very sensitive about sounds, which means that they're going to notice irritating or odd sounds that no one else does. I oftentimes use the experience growing up. We would go on field trips a lot of times with a friend of mine, and she's highly kinesthetic. And she had 2 boys and I had 3 boys, and they were all within the age range of 6 years. And we would go, we'd pile them all in my Suburban, and we'd go head down to whatever field trip we were going on. And inevitably, the noise in the back of the car of all of these boys talking and playing and laughing would get on my nerves, and I would have to, stop the conversations in the car and say, all right, guys, keep it down, getting a little too loud. And I can remember one time in particular, my friend looks at me and she goes, I didn't even know they were making that much noise. Are they being loud? I'm like, yes, they're driving me crazy. for her as a kinesthetic, it didn't bother her. Those sounds didn't really bother her. But for me, it was as if it was amplified. So if you are the type of an individual, or you know someone that's very sensitive to sounds or auditory input, they may be an auditory communicator, which means that you need to match their communication. This is the biggest key in improving any of your relationships in terms of improving that communication. We will send information naturally on our default. So as an auditory, because that's what I am, I send that message 90% of the time. I'm going to default by sending the message in the written word, or I'm going to text somebody, or I'm going to call somebody, because it's all about the auditory. It's all about the words. But that's only 20% of the population, right? So if I really want to improve my communication with somebody else, I have to think, how is their brain going to receive the information that I am sending them? So what is their sensory modality? What is their communication style? What is important to them? How does their brain process that incoming data? And then I have to match that, or I have to send it. And this is key when you're talking about meeting with potential clients. If you're meeting with an auditory, then having a written proposal is fine. They're going to like that. Now, whether or not they want a lot of details or they want the big picture, that's going to depend on one of the other brain personality connection facets. That's going to depend on their brain quadrant dominance. But in terms of actually receiving the information, the way they're going to want to receive it is they're going to want to either hear you explain it in words, or they're going to want to see it in the written word on a proposal. So for them, typing out just a worded proposal is fine. They're going to be good with that. The things that you want to listen for, you want to listen for their needs that they're painting you in an auditory way. So you really have to pay attention to their words and what are they saying. When you meet with them, you have to pay attention that the surroundings that you are meeting them in is free of auditory distractions. So you don't want to have squeaky chairs or meet them in a busy coffee house. You want to be sure that they are able to focus their attention on you without those auditory distractions like I had, on the field trips, right? You want it to be calm and quiet in a way that so their brain can focus on what it is that you are trying to communicate to them, and help them mirror that. Use a lot of, if you're meeting with an auditory, use a lot of words that match the auditory sense. So when they're talking to you, tell them, oh, I hear what you're saying, right? Use the word hear. Use the word talk. Use the words that are connected to the auditory response, right? Or you want to calm down the noise in your business. And that's what we're going to do by coming in and building systems and programs to just cut down all of this static so that you can focus on your goal as a business owner. Little things like that are going to talk almost on a subconscious level to the individual that you're trying to communicate with. And their brain's going to get it. Their brain's going to get it. So that's primarily the auditories. Like I said, 20% of the population, everything is based on sound. Everything is based on sound. If we move forward, we will talk next about the visuals, the visual communication style. Now, this is the majority of the population are visuals. Most of your population, like I said, about 50%, a little bit higher on the male side. Visuals are sometimes they're the easier ones to pick out of a crowd, because visuals are almost always very well put together. They're almost always coordinated beautifully. Whatever their style is, whether it's old-fashioned or it's business-like or it's even hippie, if they are well put together and their colors are well matched and their shoes match their necklace, matches their purse, that is almost always a visual. if it's a guy and they're in a well-tailored suit and they have the pocket square that's sitting straight, visuals hate things being out of cue in their visual sight. So if they see a painting on the wall that's not straight, they're going to be distracted until it's fixed. If you're having a conversation with a visual, this has happened to me so many times. It's funny. This is really true. Pay attention to it the next time you're having a conversation with somebody. If they do this next thing, you'll know they're a visual. I have had people literally stop me mid-sentence and say, I'm sorry, I have to fix this because there was a piece of lint on my shoulder, or there was, I think it was one time my scarf was off. I was talking to a woman and she just, and when she did this, she stops me and she says, I'm sorry, I have to straighten this out. And I can't remember, it was a scarf or my necklace was off or something like that. And I just got a grin from ear to ear. And I looked straight at her and I said, you're a visual, aren't you? And she's like, huh? And of course, that opened the way for me to do a little mini business presentation right then and there to her. And it's funny, she was obviously a visual. So visuals are very, very, what they see is what processes in their brain most efficiently and effectively. It's what processes the fastest. So if they walk into a room, the first thing they're going to notice is the way things look. They may, after a few seconds, realize the way things sound or the way things feel, but the very first thing they're going to notice is the way things look. And that is, if you know someone like this, you know that you need to play to their visual strengths, so to speak. You need to make sure that you help them see the benefits of working with them. You need to make sure that you take care of their visual needs. Visuals are also great at picking out things that are wrong on a printed page. My daughter-in-law, she's visual. She looks at things and can pick out things that are out of sync very, very quickly. No, actually, nope, that's another brain personality connection facet that she has. I apologize for that. My daughter-in-law is not necessarily visual, but visuals are great at picking out things on a printed page that are off. Okay, we're getting ready to go to our second break. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this. We're going to continue with the visuals when we come back from commercial break. If you haven't taken that test, go online and take that survey.
With her thorough understanding of brain chemistry, Julie Anderson provides you with tools and processes that will change your life in a positive way. Julie uniquely blends science and psychology when she shares her knowledge and information with businesses, entrepreneurs, women's groups, and families to improve workplace morale and productivity, parents creating dynamic relationships with their children, and women achieving more in life and business. Julie Anderson will be right back with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors. All quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
We often ask, is that all there is? Why is this happening to me? Why am I always broke? How am I going to survive this mess? Then join Dr. Geraldine Tegeloff for Nature Spirits Speak, 7 p.m. Tuesday evenings on TogiNet.com. Geraldine is a metaphysician, nature intuitive, and prosperity coach who shares with you how she went from totally broke to living what she would call her perfectly prosperous life. Through the combination of a wealth of metaphysical knowledge and her amazing ability as an intuitive, Geraldine brings to you the secrets of her magical journey of healing emotionally, spiritually, and financially. As with the ancient seers and master teachers, Geraldine has a unique gift of being able to connect to the simple yet profound messages brought to us by Mother Nature. and happily shares these through today's note to self on her webpage, naturespiritspeak.com. If you need help with your journey, why not connect with Geraldine during her show, Nature Spirit Speak, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Welcome back to Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. By including the latest scientific research on the brain-personality connection, Julie Brain Lady Anderson provides her clients with the all-important why behind what people do and how they think. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. Here again is your host, Julie Anderson, with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. We are in the second half of our show, continuing on with understanding communication styles and applying the information primarily to business. And how do you improve your business relationships, increase your sales, connect better with all of those, with the potential clients. How do you do all of this by taking this information into consideration? So we were talking before break about the visuals. So to finish up on the visual topic and how do you connect with the visuals? If you know someone who does tend to be powerfully visual, they notice things that are visually off. They are ones who always look well put together. Their home always looks well put together. Their office is well put together. Everything about them is visually appealing, so to speak, in terms of having everything just so. Then you know that you need to think receiver, not sender. So you need to think about their brain and how is their brain going to get the message. Now, here's the kicker. Remember I said that only 20% of the population are auditories, which means that those written proposals are really only going to appeal strongly to 20% of the people. That leaves us with 80% of the people that we have to adjust our proposals to. So if you are writing a specific proposal, like a written proposal that you're going to send in an email, or you're going to sit down at a business meeting and hand to your potential client that you know is a visual person, then you have to make sure that there is a lot of visual appeal to that presentation. When I do any presentation, I always use visuals. So I'm either using a PowerPoint. I don't use PowerPoints because I'm overly fond of PowerPoints, but I use PowerPoints because every single one of my slides will have a visual on it. And then the words. And I know that for at least 50% of the people that I'm presenting to, they need to see the picture so that their brain can connect that picture to the fact that I'm sharing. So visuals are very important. If I don't have a PowerPoint and I'm presenting in front of a lot of people, then I use not a flip chart, but I use a pad up in the front where I will, up on an easel, I will draw things, or I will put pictures up there that help them, the visuals in the audience, to get my message. All of my writings have every single page will have some kind of a graphic on it to keep the visual brains happy. And they're going to be able to locate and find that information again in the future based on what is on the paper. So really important for the visuals to help them to see it. Help it by giving them a lot of visually appealing things. If there's any way in your business or in your sales, if you are in sales and you're trying to show them how they're working with you is going to improve their business or make their business better, use charts and graphs and colors, things that are going to be really draw their brains in and get their attention. There's a whole brain connection to colors as well, which is really fun to go into. Maybe we'll do that on a future show. But making use of great visuals is what you want to do for your potential clients or your current clients that you want to take care of. Sending them pictures, cards that are mostly graphics or a picture to appreciate that they've been a client with you. Things like that are really going to go a long way for the visual brains. Also mimic their words or use in speech the words that they use. So a lot of visuals will use words that are connected to the visual sense. Oh, I see what you mean. That looks okay to me. I get the picture, or can you visualize what I'm saying? So they'll use a lot of these terms. Do the same when you are communicating with them. Again, on that subconscious level, their brain will come to attention when you do that. Their brain's going to quickly respond and notice and pay more attention to what you are saying. So be sure that you do that. Be sure that you give the visuals what they need to see. Okay. This is one of my pet peeves when I talk about schooling. And we're going to be in September, we're going to be talking a lot about homework and how to help your kids in school and create a homework friendly atmosphere at home, or if you're homeschooling, how to utilize this information in homeschooling. But I always like to draw attention to the school system and help parents to understand where they need to help their children. If you have a visual child, then they're going to have a little bit more difficulty doing all of the auditory things in school. So pay attention to that and give them a little extra support for the auditory and the kinesthetic children. Okay. So that's your visuals. That's what we find with the visuals. So paint it out for them, give them presentations or proposals that are very visually appealing, and help them to see how working with you is going to make things look better in their life. So use all of those words connected to vision, okay? All right, let's go on to the last of the 3 communication styles, and this is the kinesthetics. And I love the kinesthetics. I also have a part of my heart that goes out to the kinesthetics because in Western culture, they are the most neglected. They are the ones that get the least amount of attention. We are a very hands-off culture in the United States, and this is not conducive to keeping the kinesthetics happy. They need much more of the hands-on. So for the kinesthetics, they are ones that have to feel it. They have to feel it. That is so important. They need to be able to know in their gut, because kinesthetics tend to have a little bit higher gut sense. So for the kinesthetic, they need to feel and sense that working with you is going to be good. So you have to make them comfortable. You have to make them emotionally comfortable, and you have to make them physically comfortable. They have to be comfortable with working for you. Now, for them, kinesthetics are the ones that will always pick their clothes, their furniture, even their homes based on how they feel. I do this presentation for real estate agents, and I tell them, when you are showing a home to a kinesthetic, the things that you want to highlight are, take off your shoes and feel the cushion in this carpet. Look at the kitchen, see how smooth this counter is. Everything has to be appealing to the kinesthetic. This window, when the sunlight comes in through this window, feel the warmth that it brings into the house. So everything is very driven by very, very driven by the feeling, by how it feels. That's what we want. That's what we want to have when we are addressing the kinesthetics. The kinesthetics, be sure that you shake their hand. Hugging is such a touchy area. Get that touchy? It's such a difficult area in this day and age, but the kinesthetics really need to feel it. So make your proposals kinesthetically appealing. You may think, well, okay, how do I make something that has words or pictures appeal to a kinesthetic? I will always give, you will note that I will always give my proposals, my handouts. I don't care what it is. It's always on very heavy pound paper. So it's higher quality paper. It's either 24 or 28 pounds. I never use 20-pound paper when I am working with clients or when I'm doing handouts for my presentations. It is always the heavier because it feels softer in the hands. And I know that's going to appeal better to my kinesthetic clients or to my kinesthetic people that I'm meeting with. So help the kinesthetics feel it. And you can do that by making your presentations feel better, literally in the hand of the person that they are is receiving it. When you meet with them, whether it's in your office or a coffee house, wherever you're going to meet with them, make sure that that particular meeting place has a very comfortable feel, that they aren't going to be distracted by things that are uncomfortable. So you want the surroundings to be warm. You want the surroundings to be comfortable. Do you get the feeling that of what I'm trying to send here? You want to address the needs of the brain of your potential client. So you have to help those auditories hear it. You have to help those visuals see it. And you have to help those kinesthetics feel it, literally feel it with their hands. Be sure that you know what you are dealing with. You know what the communication style is. Now, what do you do if you don't know? What do you do if somebody filled out a questionnaire on, or wants to meet with you visually or virtually on the internet? They've connected you that way. You've never seen them. How do you know what their communication style is? How do you figure out what their communication style is? And if you can't figure it out, if you don't give them a pre-meeting checklist or a pre-meeting questionnaire, how do you create a communication or a method of communicating that is multi-sensory? How do you do that? How do you learn to communicate auditorily, visually, and kinesthetically? Because this is something that you can train your brain to do. You can train your brain to become more strong in all three of those. So you become what I like to teach and I like to call whole sense communicators or full sensory communicators. These are the individuals that can attach or get to all three of those brains. So we're going to talk more about that when we come back for the closing segment after break. So get up, stretch, take a deep breath, roll your shoulders, and join me after break on the Brain Lady Speaks radio show.
With her thorough understanding of brain chemistry, Julie Anderson provides you with tools and processes that will change your life in a positive way. Julie uniquely blends science and psychology when she shares her knowledge and information with businesses, entrepreneurs, women's groups, and families to improve workplace morale and productivity, parents creating dynamic relationships with their children, and women achieving more in life and business. Julie Anderson will be right back with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Laughter was such good medicine. Ancient Greek physicians sent their patients to visit comedians to be healed. In the 1300s, surgeon Henry D. Mondeville used to tell jokes to his patients in the recovery room. Dr. Mondeville must have been a bit of a Witzelsucht. That's a person who tells jokes and no one ever laughs. We laugh 6 times more when in the company of another person than we do by ourselves, and 30 times more when we are in a group. Laughter isn't under our conscious control. If you've ever started cachinnating at school, in church, or at a funeral, you know what I'm talking about. Cachinnating is another word for uncontrollable laughter. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
We often ask, is that all there is? Why is this happening to me? Why am I always broke? How am I going to survive this mess? Then join Dr. Geraldine Tegeloff for Nature Spirits Speak, 7 p.m. Tuesday evenings on TogiNet.com. Geraldine is a metaphysician, nature intuitive, and prosperity coach who shares with you how she went from totally broke to living what she would call her perfectly prosperous life. Through the combination of a wealth of metaphysical knowledge and her amazing ability as an intuitive, Geraldine brings to you the secrets of her magical journey of healing emotionally, spiritually, and financially. As with the ancient seers and master teachers, Geraldine has a unique gift of being able to connect to the simple yet profound messages brought to us by Mother Nature, and happily shares these through today's note to self on her webpage, naturespiritspeak.com. If you need help with your journey, why not connect with Geraldine during her show, Nature Spirit Speak, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Welcome back to Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network. By including the latest scientific research on the brain-personality connection, Julie Brain Lady Anderson provides her clients with the all-important why behind what people do and how they think. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business through the discovery of their natural gifts and maximizing their brain power. Here again is your host, Julie Anderson, with Brain Lady Speaks on the Lessons in Joyful Living Radio Network.
Welcome back. On the last segment, these shows always go so fast. The last segment of the Brain Lady Speaks radio show, talking specifically about the facet of the brain personality connection known as the sensory modality. What are the three different main modalities? And then how do you utilize that information to improve your bottom line, to increase your sales? We didn't deal a lot. I haven't talked much about the interaction in the offices or dealing with people who you manage, but really just kind of giving you an overview. Maybe we'll dig deeper in the future on a future show. But we've talked about the kinesthetics, the auditories, the visuals. We've talked about how they communicate, what their brain needs. The kinesthetic needs to feel it. The auditory needs to hear it. And the visual needs to see it. So how do you do this? We discussed that. And now, what if you don't know? What if you haven't sent them the pre-questionnaire? What if it's your first meeting, or you just don't know what they are? How do you identify, or how do you work with that if you don't have that knowledge ahead of time? Well, you have to become a whole sensory communicator, which means that you have to be sure that when you are conveying the information, you are sending it on all three. You are talking to all three, which means that you need to practice and learn how to use words in your speech, how to articulate in your speech words that help, that are like see, feel, hear, touch, taste, smell, picture. How can you start to use those words? So I tell people, when I run a practice session, I will help them do this. I will take, and on these big stick-em notes, they're like 2 feet by 2 feet square, we will write down all of the words that we can think of that go in each category. So write down all of the words that are connected to hearing. So hear, sound, noise, words. Write down all of those words. Take another list, or make another list of all of the words that you can think of or that come to your head that are connected to sight. So vision, see, I see what you mean, that looks good to me. Any words that you can put into your vocabulary that are connected to sight. And then do the same for kinesthetic. Kinesthetics, interesting thing about kinesthetics that I forgot to mention is that kinesthetics tend to have a heightened sense of smell and gut response. So both of those senses are kind of all wrapped together into the kinesthetic sense. They are individuals that if you know somebody, or if you are someone who walks into a room and immediately notices the smell or the scent in the room, then chances are you are a kinesthetic person, or that individual's kinesthetic, because they have a heightened sense of smell. They notice smells more so than the other two sensory modalities. So make your list of each of these, and then do practice sessions. I do this fun little exercise when I run my in-person meeting, or my in-person workshops on this topic. Is I will have everyone, I have this bag, and it's a bag of just the most obscure objects. I mean, one's like a travel clock, another one's a hand warmer, another one's a stress ball, another one's a Mickey pin, and just all of these different items that are, it's not, the item is not where the focus is going to be. What the focus is going to be on is going to be on how to describe it. So you need to do this with a partner, and you need to just pick any strange item off your desk or in the room that you're at. And you need to take a minute and help your partner see, feel, and hear the benefits of this object. So I'm holding in my hand right now a flash drive that was just sitting on my desk. If I were going to do this practice session with a partner, I would show them the beautiful color. It's a beautiful purple color, and I would show them how that color shimmers in the light. I would tell them, I would move as I open the flash drive, I would say, notice how quiet it is. Notice that you don't hear any clicking sound as you draw the USB port in and out. I would help them to feel it. I would literally hand it to them, put it in their hands, and say, feel how smooth it is. Feel how smooth it is when you open and close it. It's so easy to do that. It feels good in your hands. It's lightweight. So did you see what I did there? I helped them. I talked about how it sounded. I talked about how it looked, and I talked about how it felt, and even gave it to them so that they could hold it in their hands and feel it. And that's what you need to do. Do these little practice sessions, and it will help you to build your communicating brain. And the more you do this type of thing, if you are in a team or a unit at work, do this. This is a great team building exercise. This is a fun thing to do. Do it during breaks. Do it once a week. Help your sales force to do it on a regular basis. The more you do this little tiny exercise, the more you're going to automatically start communicating to people with much more visual input, with much more kinesthetic input. And of course, auditory always comes pretty naturally, but this will really build your communication skills. It will help you on that, to really reach and get into the brain, get the message to the brain of the person that you are trying to communicate with. It will also help you to know where you've gone wrong. It will help you to understand why there might have been a miscommunication in the first place. To this day, even though I've been eating, sleeping, breathing brain personality connection stuff for the last 15 years plus, I still will have those moments of miscommunication with my husband. And inevitably, if I stop and take a breath and go, why didn't he get my message? I can almost always connect it to the fact that I was either trying to talk to him as a woman while he was focused on something else. Men have single thought focused brains, so you can't interrupt them. You have to let them run their program and then be a new thought for them. So I either talked to him at the wrong time, or I talked to him when I needed to help him feel it. He is highly kinesthetic. So for him, I have to always talk about what it's going to feel like. Doing this particular thing will relieve stress off of you. You'll feel better. You will be able to relax more. I have had to learn to do that in our marriage. And that has made a big difference. And when we do have those moments of miscommunication, we're able to go back and look, okay, what was the mishit here? Was I sending the information to you as an auditory, not taking into consideration that you are a kinesthetic? And you can do the same thing in your business meetings. If you do a business meeting and you don't get that client, do not be discouraged. Turn it over and treat it as a learning experience. Look at it in the very positive. Okay, I didn't get this client. Why didn't I get this client? What was what happened that they didn't get the message? Sometimes it's just going to be that it didn't work. They don't necessarily want your specific service that you're offering them. Other times it may have to do with the fact that you were communicating on one level You were talking Mac and they were talking PC, right? So the communication just didn't hit. So every single loss, if you will, or every single non-connection, use it as a learning experience to connect better in the future. And I promise, when you practice these things, when you learn to be a multi-sensory communicator, you will improve your relationships, your sales will increase in your business, and you will be taking care of clients your clients will be much happier when you are taking care of them the way that their brains want to be taken care of. Okay, so that was the topic for today, increasing your bottom line through improved communication. So really understanding the sensory modalities, what they are, and how do you improve communication with each one. So that's your homework. You have to go practice, do some practice sessions, and go to the website. Go to yourbestmindonline.com, take the cute little assessment, and then email me. Tell me what you found out. Give me some feedback on it. There's also lots of other great resources on that website, as well as the ebook, Increase Your Bottom Line Through Improved Communication, soon to be an actual soft-bound book. I will let all my listeners know about that as soon as it's out. And if you have questions about the show or any questions about anything that I talk about on any of my programs or great ideas for future guests, I will be bringing in more guests as the show goes on, and I want to have some great information, some great, wonderful people to join me on the show. So if you have great ideas, send me an email at info@yourbestmindonline.com. That's my product and services website. So that's where you're going to find everything that I offer to my clients and all the many different ways that I help individuals improve their business, their relationship, and their life based on applying this information on the brain-personality connection. If you have a group that you think this information would be great for and you want to contact me about speaking for the group, please go to brainladyspeaker.com. That is my speaker-focused website, brainladyspeaker.com, or send me an email at info@brainladyspeaker.com, and we'll connect. We'll talk about your group. We'll talk about what we can do for your group and how we can help them to apply this information in their life, whatever portion of the brain-personality connection there is. Last week, I talked a lot about my mind-blowing, life-transforming event coming up on October 7th and 8th in Anaheim. It is a 5-star event, top from to bottom, fully catered breakfast, fully catered lunch. Amazing, life-changing information will be shared during those 2 days. That information for that event is under the events tab on the Your Best Mind Online web page. So please check that out. Connect with me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Brain Lady, or Purple Brain Lady on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. And until next week, have an amazing week. Have an amazing day. And take time to just breathe and enjoy life. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Brain Lady Speaks with Julie Anderson. Julie Brain Lady Anderson is considered to be one of the nation's top experts on the brain-personality connection.